So in this video, we're going to be talking through how I conduct an email marketing audit. Now, we essentially have an entire detailed document that we give to people or prospects that we want to work with, and essentially give them a very detailed explanation as to how to improve specific parts of their email marketing. Now, just to quickly give you an overview, the things that we discuss within this essentially is the email metrics and list health, email deliverability, pop-ups, campaigns, segmentation and personalization, and also automation. Now, in this video specifically, we are going to be jumping straight to the automations. Now, with this specific account, essentially, there were quite a few flows missing specifically. And as you can quite clearly see here, there's a huge list. And what we essentially did, we created a detailed documentation as to how they can potentially implement it for themselves. Now, so the very first one is the review request flow, essentially where you try to incentivize your customers to give and leave a review. Now, what this does for you, essentially, it helps you create more credibility, more social proof. You can cross-pollinate it across your social media, and you can potentially use it in future emails to generate, I guess, much more of a certainty within your customer base. And essentially, you can allow them to have more trust when purchasing from you, as you can correctly see here, going into the account. So this is the specific account. This is nowhere to be found. And then the next one is the VIP flow. Now, the VIP flow essentially is where you let people know that they are in a specific exclusive group, essentially that gives them very unique benefits that other people don't get. For example, receiving first access to new products, specific offers that are entirely new, and and just really your higher, I guess, average order value, your higher spending customers, and that's where your VIP flow should come in. And it can be really powerful because these are customers that spend the most with you, so you should really try to personalize a specific messaging to them. And this again here wasn't to be found. And the next one is the site abandonment flow. Now, this essentially is where you try to push them a step further into the funnel, so people that abandon the site essentially. Now, they did have a abandoned browser abandonment essentially. Now, this is relatively different. As you can quite clearly see here, the triggers in of itself essentially are different. So this was triggered when the product is viewed, and quite frankly, it's simply not the same. So the site abandoned flow is also missing. The back in stock flow is also missing essentially, which is relatively a simple reminder. And the abandoned checkout, I believe, was confused. Now, the abandoned checkout and the abandoned cart were mixed up and confused in this specific account. For example, as you can quite clearly see here, the abandoned cart was confused essentially and conflated with the abandoned checkout, because this is triggered essentially when someone starts to check out, initiate checkout essentially, which is not what you want initially. This is the abandoned cart, so it should be triggered when people add to cart, and then you should have a dynamic product, dynamic content essentially for the specific product they're looking for. And essentially the abandoned checkout in itself, what isn't actually to be found. So those two must have been conflated, so they must have thought these two were the same things, which they are not, as you can quite clearly see. And then the next one is the re-engagement flow. Now, essentially what this does is allows you to re-engage with people who are somewhat inactive, and see exactly what happens. Now, this is a very different flow to the win-back flow. As you can quite clearly see here, this wasn't to be found once again. And and the customer upsell wasn't there either. The sunsetting unengaged to maintain list health, to ensure that and to essentially discern the engaged and unengaged customers, to ensure that you maintain a high deliverability rate, wasn't there. So if they maintain this for a long period of time, they would see a huge decline in their engagement and in their deliverability rate. Now another component that was severely missing is split testing, as you can quite clearly see here. And when scrolling through the account, essentially, we weren't able to find any form of split testing, whether it may be the campaigns or testing with headlines or specific content. In fact, in testing one variable at a time, seeing exactly which one, which combination is the most optimized combination. Now, this is very, very key, especially once you start somewhat reaching some form of plateau. You really need to split test every single smallest component. And yeah, so just to jump into the summary, essentially, so the account of itself was somewhat okay. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, and essentially we broke it down into some points, as you can actually see here. So improving the campaign and making sure the open rates go up. That's the, I guess, action step for them. Implement all the missing flows, gathering more data on their customers so we can essentially improve the customer experience, improve overall personalization and flows in campaign sending, and making sure that it's somewhat personalized to the customer, and really segmenting the list even better, and split testing to optimize the performance, as well as from an email perspective and a pop-up perspective as well, and improving deliverability and having more control on where your emails land. Now, that's pretty much it for this video, and again, I really do hope you enjoyed it, and I managed to find a ton of value in this video. And yeah, so this is the email marketing account audit, and I would have loved to jump into more detail and much more depth in terms of every single part, but that's a extremely long video, and that'll be done for another day. Thank you very much, and okay.